So you want to know if it's worth getting into Final Fantasy XIV in 2020, and the current patch is 5.3, conclusion of the latest DLC, Shadowbringers. Well, the short answer, I'm going to tell you, yeah, it's worth it. But the odds are you probably clicked on this video because you need just a little bit convincing or a little bit of reassurance that it's definitely worth the amount of time investment MMOs generally have, and reassurance that it is worth all the time for it. I'm going to give you my own personal perspective on it in this video. I'm going to list a bunch of reasons why I personally committed to it and why I've stayed a player, for the past maybe a year and a half. Let me get this straight. I'm a poor college student. I'm doing a master's degree right now, and money's kind of tight. And the price of the sub, $14.99 US dollars. Euros is something different. It is kind of steep and it is a deal breaker for those. I was an FPS player. I didn't actually think MMOs, especially with the subscription price, was going to be something that I would enjoy. But I was proven wrong. Square Enix did a fantastic job. Now, further ado, I'll jump into the reasons. You're gonna have some background gameplay to give you a feel of the raids or the combats, and you guys are not gonna have context, so you won't have spoilers. Let's get into it. I gotta let you guys know that the free trial, as of the most recent patch 5.3, you get the opportunity to play through the entire first expansion, Heaven's Ward, and all the way up to patch 3.56, which is a quest before the second expansion, Stormblood. The free trial before, it used to only allow you to play up to level 35, like all the jobs and classes that you can level up to that. Obviously the quests until then. But the developers, Yoshi P especially, was so confident that you're gonna love the game so much that you're gonna buy a subscription and the DLCs that he just decided, you know what? He's just gonna include in the free trial of the first expansion. Obviously the free trial does have restrictions, but those serve still as a good purpose to give you a sneak peek into how the game is and everything. So to go into the list, the first reason is there's a bajillion classes and jobs. By bajillion, I mean there's 18 total classes that follow the holy trinity of classic MMOs of tank guy, healer boy, DPS, ranged, melee, and magic caster. So the fantastic part about this is you can play any job, any class with just one character. There's no more creating a bunch of different characters, play all the other classes that you want to try out. For example, right now, my main class is Bard, my tank class is Dark Knight, and my healer class is Astrologian. Love the cards, heart of the cards. If I'm feeling like, tanky boy today, I can definitely switch over, provided they have the gear and the levels and all that stuff. You don't have to create another alt just to play another class that you want. You can just go ahead and do it all in one. So make your guy pretty. Number two is the combat design. Now the combat design is the classic tab targeting. There are some discretions, there are some downsides of tab targeting MMOs. The global cooldowns, so in which you use a skill, it is quite long. I think this is longer than WoW or whatever. I think WoW has 1.5 without the reduction stuff, and on base it's 2.5 here. All the abilities as of right now in the current patch, they feel impactful. Plus there's really vibrant colors, and it's really pretty depending on the effects that you have on. As you level up your class, you're going to get a bunch of off cooldown abilities and a bunch of like job gauges, so it's like another mechanic built into your class. Combat gets pretty busy. It gets kind of hectic as well, and I mess up a lot in my rotations, but it's definitely engaging in that front. So with all Final Fantasy games, if you guys have played them in the past or whatnot, they always do a good job composing pieces or making music or the fights, the cutscenes, everything. And this game is no different. The soundtrack is absolutely ridiculous. You're gonna find yourself cranking it, turning all the things down, just crank it in a full volume, listening to it. The soundtrack adds another level of immersion, and it just makes the game overall way better. But I'm telling you, soundtrack makes you feel like a powerful anime protagonist. I mean, just listen to this track right now. So another thing is the ridiculous amount of content there is in here. There's 8-man raids, 8-man trials, which is like bosses that are tied with the story. There's side quests. The side quests are engaging, and there's a lot of information packed into it, as well as lore, and you can unlock additional dungeons that are not tied to the main story. There's a bunch of mini games. There's a whole gambling casino called the Gold Saucer. Get exclusive mounts from there. There's also like a lot of ways you can show off that you did something. There's raid specific gear tied to every single piece of the content. They all have their own unique look. There's just a dumb amount of content, and I'm telling you right now, at the time of recording, I'm going through the Shadowbringers main story quest line at the moment, and I've been playing for like I think a year and a half already, and I've been playing a lot. It's just a dumb amount of content, and if you're like me, you want to experience all of it. Like caveat to add on to that, depending on your queue, DPS obviously is longer because there's more classes of that, as opposed to tanks and healers. All of the content that I play, no matter how old, there's always people playing and queuing for it. Just the other day, I queued for I think the Stormblood, which is the second expansion 8-man raid. The first normal, I don't want to say it's not that great, but it's not popular in terms of replayability and all that stuff, and people still queue for it. So this next reason is actually the sole reason why it sold me on it. At the time, I was looking for a nice RPG, JRP story, because a lot of MMOs have that rap that the story is tacked on, you can skip all of it. While the content is amazing in Final Fantasy XIV, on top of that, it has one of the best JRPG and RPG story that rivals standalone single player games. Like, Final Fantasy is known for great stories, right? I'm telling you right now, Final Fantasy XIV, the characters, the environments, the conflicts, everything, it's so good. Especially the expansions. The expansions get absolutely wild. Like, let me tell you about Shadowbringers or Heaven's Ward or Stormblood. I love those. This is the one, dude, and it does a very good job of connecting with the characters and making you feel like the anime protagonist that we all want to be. Another thing, the community is absolutely amazing. Nice, helpful, just lovely in general. I remember I was walking through one of the main cities and stuff and looking through like Glamour, which is like, I'm gonna get into it later. I asked a question on how to craft something. And I asked a random dude, level 80, has a spectacular gear, current patch, all the relic weapons, which is end game gear. And I asked like, yo, where'd I go for this? And he legitimately explained everything. He went the extra mile, and it was 30 or 40 minutes of back and forth between each other. And it was a dude that didn't have to do that. He just told me to fuck off, man. And you know, he didn't. There's not a lot of communities that are like that. On top of the amazing community, the developers are so in touch with that same community. They listen to feedback, they're doing all they can, and they actually take things to heart. Yoshi P is actually really cool, and in this short documentary that's actually online, when he took this project of Final Fantasy XIV at 1.0, is an absolutely huge disaster at first, and he actually took the time and revamped absolutely everything, and it's a lovely game that it is now. And he actually requires each and every one of his employees to have an account and play it. And that's pretty cool, and it's very rare to see a developer care that much about their game. The glamour system. So I know we care about the content, the story, and the time investment, but if you're seeing your character legitimately all the time as you play it, you gotta make sure it looks badass, or you know, kawaii, or however you want to look at it. The glamour system, what I mentioned before, it's literally like how your character looks, and it's quite expansive in this game. And you can create anime characters, or you can just create your own person or whatever. There's a huge subreddit dedicated to it. There's YouTube channels entirely dedicated to creating glamours, showing it off and everything. One of the creators I actually watch is Bioni. Really cool, awesome dude. I was in his guild in the EU, and thank you so much for having me. Obviously, the ping was just way too much because I'm in Australia, so yeah, nah. And there's also a great website to let you know exactly where to get the gear, what dyes you need to make you look as badass, clean, cute, anything. And having that creative expression and freedom in a game like this, it's amazing. So I want to bring up a quote from IGN. IGN Reviews is a meme at the point. They definitely did get something right when talking about this game. There's legitimately something for everyone. The casuals, the RPG role-playing fans, there's role-play servers, everyone wants to be a cute cat girl or anime girl in this game, and there's the hardcore content, which is the savages and the ultimates. They're rewarding to learn the mechanics and clear it with your group, and the endgame gear and item actually do feel like matters and stuff. The one aspect of it that's not something for everyone, this MMO is purely like PvE focused, and the content from it, PvE story or whatever. The PvP game modes in this game, Final Fantasy XIV is lacking in. It's not that great. It's kind of clunky at times, and there's not that many people playing for it. However, there is a hardcore group, a small tight-knit community that plays it every single day, and there's a Discord, Reddit group, forums, and stuff for it as well if you want to get into that. But I'm telling you right now, PvP is the lesser side of the focus of Final Fantasy XIV. So I want to touch on a pretty important topic, another huge deciding factor for me besides the story and stuff. This game actually does a fantastic job of making sure that you don't have to be online 24/7, 8 hours a day, full-time job. Yes, if you want to be a high-end player and keeping #1 ranked tank, DPS, or whatever, that's the hardcore people. They want to do that. But I'm talking about the general player base as a whole. It doesn't make you feel bad for missing dailies. It doesn't make you feel worse for weeklies. I don't know how to describe it. The game lets you experience it at your own pace when you want to. If you want to do all the side quests and, you know, neglect the main story quest, dude, I did that. That's why I've been playing for so long. I'm not even up to the current patch. From my personal experience, the other MMO that I played was Black Desert Online, a sandbox MMO, PvP oriented and stuff. Combat is amazing. I love that game. 5,000 hours. It did make me feel like I had to play all the time. There's AFK stuff in it. I kept my PC on for like 24/7 until maintenance. I felt like if I wasn't doing something active in that game, I'd fall behind. I'd fall further behind because of the gear score and everything. But that's an entirely different game. BDO and Final Fantasy XIV are so different. I just want to let you know that like there are games that do actually make you feel like that you should be on literally all the time. It's almost like you compare Final Fantasy XIV to a dude that's chilling with the beer and you're like, you know what? Take your time. And the last reason, there's cat girls. You can become one, you can marry one, have a house together. Cat girls, man. Elon Musk, make this happen. With the current praise of Nekos and cat girls, that brings us to the end of the video. Hopefully the reasons why I committed onto the game actually convinced you guys to go ahead and make the leap and buy the subscription and the DLCs or download the free trial. I really hope it did, because I love seeing new players come into this game. Nothing makes me more happier than going into a dungeon, trial, or whatever, and people typing in chat, yo, this is my first time here. Before I end the video off, I do actually have a leveling guide that will tell you the best / most fun ways to level a class or character. I guess in your case, your first class or character, or alternate jobs in general. And the 8-man trials raids and 24-man raids that I mentioned before. I have a bunch of videos on that and my reactions into doing them, so you guys can get an idea how great the music is, how good the fight mechanics are, and you know how engaging this game is. And for those of you who stumbled upon my video that are already caught up to the current patch or have already experienced the Shadowbringers story, I do have a series on the channel of my first ever Shadowbringers playthrough of the main story quest line with full face cam reactions and everything, so you can see all the emotions, all the shocks, and the shit that goes down that everyone has experienced on their first playthrough. Without further ado, I'm gonna head on out of here. If you guys did enjoy the video, but you already know what to do, subscribe to some more Final Fantasy XIV content or content in general. I'll be here, and yeah, I hope to see you guys on the next video. Peace out.